Hello everyone, this is Yoko. On this channel, I'll be sharing information in English that I've gathered myself, as events happening in China often don't get reported in other countries. I receive information from various media sources, so I'd appreciate your comments on the content of the videos. If you enjoy what you see, please consider subscribing to the channel and showing your support. Today, I'd like to talk about Tencent. Tencent is a well-known Chinese IT company, even in Japan. However, when asked about Chinese companies in Japan, many people might not be able to name many. Despite past claims that China's economic development had surpassed that of the United States, there aren't many Chinese companies that are widely recognized globally. This is evident from the fact that most Japanese people are unfamiliar with the names of Chinese companies. In fact, there are few Chinese companies that have built a strong reputation in this field. This is because Chinese companies tend to diversify into unrelated businesses instead of focusing on their core strengths, leading to a lack of prominent Chinese companies in this field. On the other hand, Japanese companies focus on their core strengths, strive to improve their products, and are recognized globally. Japan is home to many globally recognized companies. In other words, companies that expand into areas where profits are expected to be found become mediocre in everything and fail to become globally competitive companies. As for Chinese companies known in Japan, Alibaba and Tencent are well known for their IT-related businesses. When Japanese people hear about Alibaba or Tencent, they usually think of them as IT companies, or in Tencent's case, a gaming company. This perception stems from their presence in the IT industry. Recent developments include Tencent investing 6.42 billion yuan to acquire land use rights in areas A, B, C, and J on the north side of Zuoyuan Road in Haidian District, Beijing. This move is to secure land for the construction of office buildings. However, many people have questioned this decision. The current real estate market in China is characterized by oversupply due to excessive construction and falling prices. In such an environment, it would be wiser to lease existing office buildings rather than acquire new land for construction. Considering the surplus of real estate and the lack of occupants, Tencent's acquisition of new land seems illogical. Furthermore, concerns arise as the acquisition cost exceeds 120 billion yen, and further time and money will be required to construct the buildings. Critics argue that Tencent's decision may be influenced by pressure from the Chinese Communist Party (CCP) regime. If companies do not comply with government directives, they may face negative consequences. Therefore, Tencent may reluctantly make such investments even if they are not economically rational. Additionally, Tencent's land acquisition decision may involve lobbying or coercion from the CCP regime, not just the company's own initiative. This is evident from specific actions by the Beijing municipal government, such as early repayment of loans. In summary, Tencent's recent decision to acquire land for office buildings in Beijing raises questions about its rationale and economic viability, highlighting the complex interplay between business interests and political pressure in China. This is a long-term local bond with a maturity of 20 years, carrying an annual interest rate of 3.42%. However, the Beijing government has decided to repay a portion of it 16 years earlier than scheduled. The background to this decision lies in the current economic downturn in China, where money circulation at previously observed high yields has stagnated. In such a scenario, when local governments need to issue local bonds, they can raise funds at significantly lower interest rates compared to 2020. Essentially, they are considering repaying high-interest loans and then issuing new local bonds at lower interest rates. However, before doing so, they need cash to repay the borrowed loans. Therefore, what Beijing is doing now is a partial early repayment. Essentially, they're saying, we can pay this much in advance. We'll do the same for the rest. Many other local governments are attempting similar measures, but they lack the financial resources. However, Beijing has managed to secure the necessary funds for repayment through various means. This is possibly related to the recent transaction where Tencent sold land use rights. Tencent received 6.42 billion yuan in this deal, but the amount of early repayment is minimal, leaving Tencent with little of its vast profits. This indicates that Beijing's finances are quite tight. However, on a national scale, I still think Beijing is relatively okay. As the capital of China, Beijing can raise funds through various means compared to other regions. Nonetheless, the situation is very serious for local governments. Returning to the discussion about Tencent earlier, ultimately, whether it's state-owned or privately owned, the interests of Chinese companies will be absorbed by the Communist Party regime. Therefore, regardless of the formality, the profitability of Chinese companies ultimately benefits the Communist Party. Now, as for how that money is used, it could potentially line the pockets of individuals wielding power within the Communist Party. However, the bigger issue is that the money flowing into China could ultimately be used at the discretion of the Communist Party for military development or activities against foreign nations. Among the affected countries, Japan is believed to be the most affected. The Communist Party justifies its rule by portraying Japan as the villain, so the existence of the Communist Party and criticism of Japan go hand in hand. Therefore, it would be wise for Japan to avoid giving China as much benefit as possible. However, leaving this solely to individual corporations is probably impractical. Business leaders are often tasked with generating short-term profits, so even if warnings are issued about risks of investing in China 20 years from now or the potential loss of important Japanese technology to China, they are only concerned about how much profit they can make this year or next year. Consequently, when they see other companies making profits in the Chinese market, they may feel compelled to enter the market themselves. This is why I believe that national rules are important. Therefore, advanced technologies that could potentially be used for military purposes, which will be the core of the future world economy, are widely researched in Japan. However, I believe that we should not allow these achievements to be easily absorbed by China. This is also true in the United States, where many Chinese students come to be a significant part of university research. I believe this situation is similar in Japan as well. When these students eventually rise to important positions, they may not necessarily be agents of the Communist Party, but the Communist Party's strategy is to send many students to important research institutions and universities abroad. By winning competitions within China, it is believed that there are plenty of talented individuals, at least in terms of academic achievements. In Japan and the United States, many people are involved in research at important universities. The Communist Party then moves through the individuals who have obtained important positions. They approach these individuals and say, "Think about what will happen to your family in your home country if you don't listen to us." They use all means available to make them their pawns. Therefore, although these individuals may have initially sought personal opportunities, they may eventually emerge as individuals who can lead a decent life in other countries away from China. This happened in Germany yesterday. The Chinese Communist Party does such things. It's not about whether individuals are good or bad, it's about countries that engage in such behavior. Therefore, even if outstanding individuals come from countries that engage in these actions, I believe they are more likely to threaten Japan's future rather than being seen as assets to Japan. Although I digressed a bit, it is often the case that when individuals or companies begin to make profits in China, they attract the attention of the Communist Party and are used as their pawns. It is important to recognize this system in China and take measures against it. Otherwise, Japan's accumulated wealth and research achievements may easily be surpassed. That's all for this time. See you next time.